Next Saturday, or this coming Saturday, actually, I will be 74 years old. And I feel younger than I did 30 years ago, and I'm probably more vibrant. And it all came through the work I've received. And so I have to talk about that. Um, Greatness is within your reach. It really is for any single person, because greatness means that you discover your authentic self. You start living that life path that you were given, and you achieve the kind of success and happiness and love that you're meant to have in your life. And I know that you're supposed to have it. We never know who we're going to become when we come into the world, and we don't know what the world's going to be either. And so it can be a little challenging for us to find our authentic self, because that authentic self that you have is unique. It's not like anyone else. And so you may not have believed it, you may not have uncovered it, and you might have been afraid to live it. That could come up as well. I did that for a long time, so I do understand. Because when you develop something that's unique within you and you have to show it to everyone else, we become afraid. And that's when we have those insecurities. That's when we have those fears. That's when we feel we're not enough or we're an imposter. None of those things are real. It's just that we're in a process of developing our consciousness to accept who we have become. But see, the same thing happens in our world as well, because it's not just us. We have a collective consciousness, meaning a consciousness that exists across the world for everyone. And what that means is that we will see things done in the world, and then we can kind of believe that we can do it. Because as humans, we're always developing something new. Otherwise, the world doesn't keep evolving. But in order to develop something new, we have to let go of what was old. We have to let go of what was old within us. We have to just like destroy it, get rid of it, because it's no longer serving us. And that's what we're supposed to do in the world as well. But then we have evolutionary changes as we're experiencing now, where everyone's not going to do that. So you have to decide if you're going to do it, because that's how you become your best self. What happens is we all come in with limitations. We have biases, we have judgments, we have all of those things. And then we typically place them upon ourselves. And then when that gets really uncomfortable, let's just place it on others. And then we can do that as a generation, as a society. And we've done that. I've seen so many different evolutionary changes throughout my life, changes in all sorts of ways. But I knew that this time in our world, what we were supposed to do is make a greater change. When I started receiving Wilhelm in 1989, I wasn't going to tell anyone I was even doing it. Didn't even know why I was saving the messages every day. Didn't know why I was moving through all the horror that I had had in my life. Why did I experience that? Because I know you've gone through a lot of things in your life and you're questioning that. Why did it happen? Now I know it happened for a reason, because it caused me to be able to give something to others that they don't have to do that. And then we have a world where we don't have to experience some of the same things that we did hundreds of years ago. That's where we are now. I published several things recently talking about history, because I wanted people to understand we're always making choices about the lives that we want to have and also the world that we're going to create, because we're doing both of them. And I was blessed enough to be given a way to create a really great world, and you can create a great life. And I can say that because I know it's true now. I hid forever thinking, did this really happen? Even though I'm experiencing the healing that has happened for me, which many did not believe. It was kind of impossible. Nothing is impossible. We have to let go of that. That's our limited thinking again. And so what happens is we begin to learn that there's certain ways of developing as humans. We know about neuroscience. We do personal development. We take courses. We do all of that. I did something else. I received cosmic guidance as well. I had all of those experiences. I did all of that stuff. But then what was happening is I started to see, I know how the world is changing. I know what's coming up. And I even knew what was happening on your birthday in 2012. That made no sense to me when I first heard it, but it's worked brilliantly because everyone has a unique place. I just happened to develop this ability through channeling, receiving Wilhelm, writing this information, where I tapped into the changes in the universe. We are affected emotionally by the changes that happen with the with the galaxies, with the planets and all of that. We're still figuring that out. And there are different ideas about it, why it's so challenging now, and especially in the United States. But I explained all of that. I put up a video the other day that talked about the energetic changes that were happening that I came to understand, and we are going to be moving through an evolutionary change that if we decide to embrace it, let go of what is old, then we become really happy and we heal. And then you become abundant because it's all energy. That's all that it is. So when we're feeling lack in our lives, it's because we're not willing to own that authentic part of ourselves. And sometimes that journey is challenging. It was really horrible for me, but you can always get through it. That's why I know success, your greatness is achievable now because I created a plan. And I can say that I know everyone's not going to do it because, see, we stop. We don't want to look at ourselves. I spent, I can't tell you how many times I didn't want to talk about certain things. I didn't want to look at it. It's like putting my head in the sand. So I wouldn't do that thing that's in front of me. And I did that for years. I'll tell you something else. In 2005, I had this dream, this really vivid dream. You've had one too, because there was something that said to you, this is what I'm supposed to do in my life. It was there, it was faint. You heard it, but you maybe didn't believe it, or you haven't done it. Or it could probably be there right now, because as the world has changed and as energies have changed, you got awakened to something that you've been wanting to do, but you might still be a little afraid. I understand that because that's what I did as well. When I discovered I had this work in 2021, I thought, I can't do this. And then I saw that I could, and everyone was benefiting because of it. It's the same for you. There's no one has any more than you. It's just a matter of how you have been taught, what you've allowed yourself to believe, and your willingness to change. That's all. The only thing that holds any of us back is our unwillingness to change. And I had so much of it. It's been a struggle. When I had a big business many years ago. You probably know that as a vocal coach and all of that. And I was making a lot of money. And then I got rid of it because I knew I had to change because I had something that would be so much more valuable to individuals as we were moving through this change, which I call a planetary ascension. And because I've done it, I've gone through the dark nights of the soul. I've done all of those things and suffered. You don't have to do that. That's what happens when we discover something, we can bring it to the world, then others don't have to go through what we did. That's how the world is meant to work. But at this particular time, it's going to be a bit more challenging because you're going to see people who are just going to be angry with themselves and everyone else and not going to want to change. And you'll decide if you're one of them. So when you think about the collective consciousness, you start to understand it's all energy. Then you start to understand that energy is what forms everything. It forms your life, it forms your healing, all of that stuff, and creates the world. But it's the quality of the energy that makes the difference. Because, see, I was doubting myself, I was judging myself because I'd learned that from early age. Oh, I was terrible. I wasn't enough. Every single fear. That's why I wrote the book, Overcoming Fear, A Guide to Freedom. I went through it, so I do understand. And then it led to your last development program. Now, see, that's the thing that I'm doing now, and I'm going to complete because it can change anyone's life. And I know that over time, it will change our world. I may not see that, but I know that the people who will use it, they'll do something that will cause the world to change. Because what happens is you let go of your generational trauma, your generational biases, your hatred, your anger at yourself, all of that stuff. Then you have something you can give to the others, and especially your kids, because now they can grow up with a different mentality than what you had. That's what we're all meant to do individually and also collectively. But this period, we're going to struggle with it a little bit, and especially in the United States. I've received so much information about that, so you should just become aware. And we move through power struggles in the world all the time in civilizations. You may not have studied that, but I put a lot of information in the videos that I've just placed in the last couple of weeks because I just want people to have information. We are always choosing the kind of life we want to have. We're choosing the kind of governments we want to live under. And the kind of world we want to ultimately create, because it's all of it. It's no one person is doing. And as Wilhelm always says, and I have to keep remembering this because I lose it at times, they always say, there's no hierarchy of souls. We're all equal. We have, but we've been taught something else. And then others have been believing something else for a really long time. And that's where you must become your empowered person. And that's how your greatness starts to emerge. That's how you become in love with yourself. And I know you can do it because I've done it and others have done it, and my work does that. That's what I wanted to tell you, because there's no reason now for you not to experience the greatness you want to have and really contribute to our world, because that's what we're all supposed to do: become happy, successful, and contribute something. We don't live forever. And so now I'm looking at, wow, I better get on with this. 74. And I'm not sure how long that's going to go, because I could probably go to 100 the way I feel now. You could probably do it as well. And you'll probably create something that's so much better than I could have ever done, because that's how it works. You'll see. Please come to the channeling session I'm going to be holding this Friday for the new moon. You'll hear so much more about Wilhelm. You'll understand why this work can change your life and eventually change our world. I know it's challenging for others to believe that, because it's something so different. But when you think about it, only place any of us experience anything in this life is in our consciousness. That's the one thing that you have control over, and that's the one thing you can change, but you have to become willing to do it, because it causes you to become courageous enough to love yourself. That's all. All right. See you guys soon.